In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how my remote athletes have been gaining 5 to 7 miles an hour with less using the minimalist pitching path, a remote program that I've created to help pitchers who are stuck in the high 70s to low 80s break out of their velocity plateaus and start focusing on the things that actually matter in regards to development. If you don't know who I am, my name is Kyle Kringen, aka the Minimalist Pitcher on Instagram and YouTube. I'm a remote pitching development coach who helps pitchers break out of their velocity plateaus using the minimalist approach, which we're going to get into today. It is the approach that has guys focus specifically and intentionally on the things that actually move the needle towards higher velocity and discards all of the things in their lives that are holding them back from reaching their true potential. And just so I'm not wasting anybody's time, this video is only for pitchers who have been stuck in the mid 70s to low 80s with their velocity, and they've tried a bunch of different things and they just haven't gotten anywhere with their development. You're probably feeling domed up because you're watching Instagram and YouTube and trying a bunch of different things and nothing seems to be working, nothing's clicking for you, and you just feel stuck and overwhelmed and confused. Maybe you've even done pitching lessons before or another online program, or even done a velocity specific class where you go in and all they're having you do is literally focus on gaining velocity. But in this video, I'm going to be showing you the 3 components that have helped me gain velocity outside of college and have helped my athletes gain 5 to 7 miles an hour in as little as 12 weeks. Now, during my entire career in college, I never really topped anywhere past the low 80s, and it wasn't until after my college career had already ended that I became the most athletic version of myself that really dialed in on everything fitness, nutrition, athleticism, and finally threw 90 miles an hour post-college. So without further ado, let's get into the 3 components. The first one is going to be training. How you train matters a ton, so I'm going to break it down very simply for you because at the end of the day, the minimalist approach is focusing solely on the things that actually matter and getting rid of all the stuff that doesn't matter, right? So we're not trying to waste any time doing the stuff that isn't actually serving us and the goal of throwing harder, specifically 90 plus, right? So with regard to training, we should be in the gym focusing on certain strength metrics. It's not that complicated if you have a specific plan and you know what you should be doing and how you should be doing it every single time you walk into the gym. So those strength metrics should be geared towards movement patterns. I'm going to skip around to movement quality, right? First and foremost, if we're going to throw pain-free, if we're going to move pain-free, we got to move properly. So that is number 1, making sure you have really good movement quality. And then at the top of the pyramid, then we're going to get more into output, right? And athleticism. So build the base with strength, build the base with movement quality. And then as you go up the pyramid, gets thinner at the top, right? We're going to focus more on the skill work, more on the output, building power for that engine that you've built, right? And then at the very bottom of the pyramid is mobility, right? So we need to have good mobility. Everyone says it all of the time. We want to get into deep positions, right? We want to have good mobility as pitchers, but nobody really tells you how to do that. So when you're trying to gain mobility, it's very simple. The goal is to gain range of motion over time. And if you treat it the same way with strength and power and movement quality, and you have intention with the right exercises and doing the right stuff, it's not that complicated if you have the right plan. All in all, strength matters a ton, and just how you train matters a ton. Following a structured plan and knowing what to do every single time you walk in the gym. If you do not meet the strength metrics, if you don't have good power output or good athleticism, mobility, movement quality, and lean mass at the end of the day, then you're not going to throw 90 plus. Moving on to lifestyle. Lifestyle is a huge category that matters so much more than a lot of guys give credit for. And one of the reasons why I was pretty much stuck the entire 3.5 years that I was playing college baseball is because I did not dial in my lifestyle habits until very late into my career and then after my career had ended. So let's get into it. The habits that you have matter so much more than you think, because that is really what's going to determine who you are as a person and as a player, right? Everybody is out there playing the same game, right? But everyone on that field, on the diamond, has different habits and prepared differently for the moment they actually stepped on the field between the lines. The actual differentiators, the separators between the good players, the great players, are going to be their habits and their routines, right? And also the beliefs that they hold at the bottom here, what they actually believe is possible and believe is true about themselves as humans, as players, as athletes, as individuals, right? Who they are. Self-talk. So how you talk to yourself matters a ton, and it's going to be a differentiator on the mound and off the mound, right? What do you tell yourself? What is the language you actually use in your mind and also outward, right? They're going to expose the belief systems that you have. So if you actually don't believe that it's possible to play D1 baseball, right? It's going to show up in the language. So if you tell me, you know, oh, I want to play D1 baseball, but like I'm probably looking at, community college or a low D3 or something like that, and you're a sophomore or junior, you already think based off what you told me that you don't believe it's possible. You want it, sure, we all want that. But if you are not telling yourself it's possible and then trying to find and reverse engineer the blueprint and try to create the blueprint, how do I actually get to D1 baseball? That's the winner attitude that gets guys to D1, is how do I actually get there? What are the steps necessary? And then what can I commit to? If you're telling yourself, I'm going to settle for junior college or whatever, something like that, you are not clear enough, and you are holding the belief that what you're currently doing is not good enough to get to D1, so you're going to settle for less than that. How you view all of this stuff and how you think, how you outwardly say things to yourself and to others is going to expose your belief system. And then on top of all of that is your nutrition. Nutrition matters so much more than I gave credit for in my college career. I had the best training program my freshman and my sophomore year of junior college. I had the best strength coaches. I had a great program. I did everything that my coaches asked me to do, but I had no idea how to eat properly. I didn't eat protein. I didn't eat quality meals. I didn't eat nutrient-dense foods. I didn't eat whole foods. I was eating processed stuff that totally matters when it comes to optimizing your training, right? I wasn't dialed in with that until very late in my career and then after my career. It wasn't until I fully understood how to do this stuff properly, how to sleep well. All of that stuff played into me eventually throwing 90 plus, right? And then the last one here, I know I'm jumping around a ton, but the why. Why are we doing any of this, right? Why am I trying to throw 90 plus? Why am I trying to throw even 80 plus for some of you guys? What is that going to do for you, right? And if you don't have a strong enough reason for why you're doing the daily, right, and committing to doing the work, if you don't have a good reason for it, then everything kind of crumbles apart a little bit and gets murky. You don't have a full, total commitment to it because it's not very clear why exactly you're doing what you're doing. You can't go back on your why. When you ask yourself, why am I doing this? Like, if I don't have a good reason for it, then maybe I won't do it next time. You need to have a very strong reason for every single thing that you do. And then the last pillar is going to be your throwing. So throwing obviously matters a ton. When I had this stuff dialed in, it was only a matter of time until I hit 90 miles an hour. But at the end of the day, your mechanics and how you view the throw is going to determine whether or not you get there. Importance of this cannot be understated. Too many guys focus only on the throwing and nothing over here. You're only focusing on throwing and getting in your head on mechanics and fixing things and thinking that you need to fix all these little problems instead of thinking of the throw as a one unit movement. And if you can't think of it as one entire thing that is a fluid motion that happens like that, and if you're thinking about it in parts, you're trying to fix these little parts and put band-aids on them, then that is what's going to hold you back from eventually throwing 90 plus. Reverse engineer a little bit here. We're trying to build the body with this section that is capable of throwing 90 miles an hour. Then we're trying to continue to build on that with the habits that we have around our day-to-day, what we tell ourselves, how we show up every single day, what we believe about ourselves and what's possible. It is then putting all this together so that you can then have a fluid throw and not be thinking about all of these different things, but rather be thinking about competing high intent, right? We're throwing high intent with a relaxed body. The sequencing is going to unravel naturally when you have this high intent and this relaxation and this repeatability of good, clean mechanics. That's what matters. We got to focus on the simple stuff instead of focusing on nitpicking all of the little components of the throw. That is not what's going to reveal clean mechanics and self-organize clean mechanics. You can't be thinking about the throw in different components, especially if you're throwing less than 80 miles an hour or in the mid 80s. If you're just nitpicking, what's wrong with my throw, or telling yourself I got to fix stuff. That's the wrong mentality. You got to be thinking about it as a whole unit, and you got to be thinking about how can I get more fluid? How can I sequence a little better? And how can I understand my body and be relaxed with high intent and continue to repeat my mechanics when they start to work, right? So they can show up on the mound and you're not thinking about mechanics on the mound, but you can actually just compete in the game. And if you focus on things outside of this, and that gets you domed up, they get you, training a different way, right? Or forming bad habits that don't actually support the goal of throwing harder. That's what's going to pull you away and waste your time and ultimately just eat up all of the time that you could be spending on becoming a better person that forms better habits, that makes better decisions, that becomes an ultimately better athlete and pitcher and human being. That's what this program is really all about. It's building and developing the human being that on and off the field does all of the right stuff and focuses on what actually matters. I hope you got a ton of value out of this video. Honestly, you can take this information and you can run with it. But if you are somebody who, even after watching this video still feels like, I have a better idea of what I should be doing, but I still don't quite know how to get there, and I need somebody to guide me through that process and really help me come up with the clear plan, then click the link in the description, book a call with me, and we'll go over your situation, and I'll show you exactly what it could look like working with me inside the program and how we can help you bridge the gap between where you are right now and where you're trying to get to. Have a beautiful day. God bless.